Jay, I
Yes, sir.
just thought of a question for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How you doing?
If I were any better, I would be Bryson DeChambeau.
I was going to ask you the first question on my list. And by the way, if you have any legal questions for Jay, you're welcome to get them in at 615-737-9986. My first question for you, and I knew the answer before I even asked it, was, have you seen the Bryson DeChambeau YouTube with Donald Trump?
I took the time yesterday and watched it start to finish.
Yep. It's about an hour.
And, Bryson, he's so smart about how to handle all that. And Trump, he's a blowhard guy. He said, who I would like to see play golf together? I just thought of this, man. I would pay money to see Donald Trump and our buddy Gerald ride in the same golf cart together. But I bet you Trump would give up. He would just say, shut up. Good God, how can you talk more than I can?
What was it Trump said? But here's the thing, though, Jay. I never knew, and look, I love Trump. Everybody knows that. I was a Trump guy from the moment he came down the escalator, right? But I've heard him talk about his golf game. And he is known to perhaps, let's say, exaggerate, right? Exactly. And so when he talks about
it'd be beautiful. You'd be tired of making birdies if you play.
Oh, right. You're going to be tired of winning. We're going to so much winning, right? And so I never knew what to believe about how good his golf. He's 78 years old and he's popping it down the middle.
No, he was driving the ball 220 yards, right? And made the eagle putt, and his granddaughter, the one that spoke at the convention. Mm-hmm. I don't remember her name. She's the real deal, man. She's a competitive golfer.
Wow.
I mean, she shot rounds in the 60s.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
so it was
Trump.
Bryson, he was being deferential, right? But it was funny.
Well, I called it. I mean, but you know what? That's what I like Bryson. I did not start off liking Bryson DeChambeau,
right.
And Bryson has won me, and that's saying something.
Yeah, well, I get it.
But Trump. You could tell Trump would throw in some politics, and you could tell Bryson was kind of not wanting to go there necessarily.
Yeah, we ain't doing that. I don't want to lose.
We're just playing golf. But he shot a 50 in a scramble. I don't care what tees you're playing from.
Right.
He shot a 50 in a.
It was great. And did you see the thing where Trump makes an eagle putt on a par 4 where he drove the green? Uh-huh. And Bryson's going to go over and, high-fiving or whatever. And Trump just turns around and walks away. And he leaves Bryson hanging. And he looks at the camera and he's cracking up. The guy just made an eagle and he struts off like he's
just walking off. Like it's no big deal, right? He just, natty eagle, whatever.
Yeah, I do it all the time. All the time.
Oh, man. Well, I encourage people to find it on YouTube. It's a little bit difficult. I wouldn't even begin to know how to spell DeChambeau, but if you can find Bryson's YouTube channel, and it's on there. It's The Effort to Break 50. It's pretty good. And I thought it was human. It showed me something, that it's fun to watch him in those moments, but he seems to be the same guy in that golf cart with that camera attached to the front of the golf cart as he is on stage. Because he started talking about the maple trees. You remember that?
Do
you see those trees over there? They're natural. They're all the most beautiful trees right here on the golf course. And you could plant them right in the middle of the course. They'd be so beautiful. Drinking a Diet Coke. Well, Jay, I know we have many questions for you. And already they're coming in. The membersnutrition.com super text line. We invite folks to get them in. But I happen to know that you have done a little bit of internet sleuthing on the history of the political czar in the United States of America. Huh?
Truth is stranger than fiction, Matt. 21st century's not turned out like I thought it would, Matt. I thought really by now all the lies and deceptions would be gone. It'd be like Star Trek, like the truth is the truth, and we just stick with the truth. And it's just amazing what has happened to the press, where they just absolutely deny unassailable facts.
Well, and crazy. they do this interesting thing, and I wanted to ask you about it. If this is well known in legal circles, where they get the word that I thought of earlier in the week was the nomenclature, right? They get hung up. Right. So because Joe Biden never said the two words border czar,
right,
we're supposed to believe that he did not put Kamala Harris in charge
of the board.
No,
that's right. That's what I do for a living, man. The nomenclature. That's what I do for a living. I can talk to you for hours about this. I've been in front of juries in week-long trials where we're parsing two words in an employee handbook.
Right.
So, right. Yeah, I know all about this. And, yes, you're exactly right. That's what the press does. It's what politicians do. It's what lawyers do. Every now and then, it's what radio talk show hosts do.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, look, words mean things.
That's right.
And so if the Democrats now want to hang on this idea that he never called her the border czar, well, fine. Well, did he put her in charge of the illegal migration that was coming across the southern border?
Yeah.
And
or
now
was she the point person? Or is she the point person?
Right. Was she the point person? Yeah. And obviously she was, but it's obvious that they are. We live in a day and age where the media has decided that there is no ramification for being clearly in one camp or another.
Oh, no, they're just absolutely boldly part of it. But it's nothing new, right? It's going back to like the yellow journalism of the early 20th century. They kind of faked it there for a while, from about the 50s to the 70s, where they try to fake being impartial. But prior to that, the press was never impartial before that. I mean, they've always been partisan. And now we're just kind of back to the origins of it.
Well, we've got a lot of you're right on target, by the way, on that. We got a lot of questions coming in. Here's what I want to do, Jay, with your permission. We'll take a short time out, and then we'll crank up some of the legal questions going on the super text line. There's one about Camp Lejeune that has been asked. Someone has asked the question. I can't wait to get this answer. Would Jay St. Clair marry an attorney? I'm very curious as to Jay's answer to that question, plus many, many others. It's 19 after the hour. Matt Murphy Show from Twin Creeks Marina. Come by and see us in Winchester, Tennessee. We'll be here until 3 o'clock at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, having some great conversation out here at Twin Creeks Marina. Would love to see you. Come by and see us. We're here till just after 3 o'clock. A lot of folks gathering together, getting on pontoon boats and going out on Timms Ford Lake. It's beautiful out here, let me tell you. And every time, I've been down here a few times, and I'll be down here plenty more. And every time I come down, people from around Winchester hit me up and say, would you please stop telling people in Nashville and the surrounding areas that we exist? Because they're like, we're full. I'm like, no, I got to tell everybody about y'all. And so I'm enjoying the conversation, and I hope you come by and see us. Meantime, we got a great conversation going on with our man Jay St. Clair, my legal correspondent, and soon-to-be gambling buddy. Are we gonna check out some real estate next weekend, Jay? Is that right?
Yeah, well, we got some surveying work that needs to be done. Yeah. I think 2 days.
Yeah, a couple of days of real estate survey. You got to check out land. You got to really know the land to assess it, to evaluate it. We'll do that for a couple of days, and then we might go to an investment seminar or two.
I'm not coming at this just all willy-nilly ad hoc, people.
That's the thing, Jay. We try to present what we do during our weekends in Tunica, Mississippi, the way that it is. And Bell just hates on us. I don't understand why that is. But I don't understand.
Bell hadn't been around lawyers as much as you have, Matt. He does not understand the art of obfuscation.
What the first half of that comment is true, the second half is not.
He might not have been around lawyers, but he's been around BS artists. But I repeat myself. Jay, I'm going to ask you one of the easier questions you'll get, and then I'm going to go to the membersnutrition.com super text line. So I've saved this question for you because you and I have talked about this before, the difference between a general election and a primary election. And so folks are asking me, Matt, how is this what the Democrats are doing not illegal? Could voters not sue because their vote has been disenfranchised? Because we're told almost 15 million people, Jay, went to the polls and voted for Biden. Right. And then Biden, for no reason other than they decided to push him out, Biden's no longer the nominee, and here comes Kamala, who has had 0 votes in the primary process. And so folks are saying, hey, is this not disenfranchising my vote? What would you say to that, Jay?
I would say, actually, they did not vote for Joe Biden. They actually voted for delegates. Mm-hmm. People don't really know that or understand that, but in a primary election, that's entirely run by each party. They can have their own rules. So technically, you're actually voting for a delegate in the primary election. It may have the candidate's name there, but the way that really works is you're voting for the delegate who have pledged themselves to that candidate. Under the Democratic Party rules, I think probably the Republicans too, candidates are released from their pledge, or the delegates are released from their pledge if the candidate releases it. And it's a version of the golden rule, man. He who has the gold makes the rule. And so it's an internal Democratic Party process. They've written the rules. They can interpret the rules and apply the rules the way they want to. Totally different in a general election. That's where all the laws apply. But here it's just the internal Democratic Party rule.
Right. So, it's a party function. They set up their own rules. They have an escape hatch that if the candidate decides that they don't want any part of this, it releases those delegates. So when you vote for the delegates, as you so well put, those delegates are pledged to the individual candidate. But according to those rules, if the candidate says, I'm out, then those delegates are then free. The delegates that you voted for are still going to vote, but they're free to vote.
Right. Yeah, that's who got elected are the delegates.
Right. And it kind of exposes the fallacy, at least in the primaries, that it's one person, one vote, and it's kind of a direct type of democratic process. It's not, but...
Hey, Matt, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, you can
People also need to remember that primaries have absolutely no relationship to the elections based on the Constitution. They are not a constitutional component in any way, shape, or form. These are created by the parties for their own benefit.
Dang, Bell, where'd you go to law school?
Yale.
Where'd you go to
law school?
It's never not funny.
I had a policeman ask me that one time, and I just said, probably the same place you did.
How'd that work out, Jim?
Not so good.
I bet it didn't.
Well, you said that exactly right, Bill.
Jay, we've got a number of folks asking questions. Let's start with the easy one. Jay, would you ever marry a lawyer? That's a question. That is a legit question.
Describe her.
She looks like Dolly Parton in 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
We'll get on a more serious.
I know a lot of lawyers that are married to lawyers, and they seem to work it out. But one of my bestest lawyers that worked for me, she was married to a lawyer, and they had 4 kids. And I asked her one time, when do you buy groceries? Because they both work really hard. She said 2:00 in the morning at Walmart. I said, well, that sounds about right. But yeah, I'm at kind of stage in life. I don't know that I would have done that when I'm 30, but at the stage of my life, well, if she looks like Dolly Parton and she's got Donald Trump's bank account, yeah, I think we could make that work.
Yeah, you could work it out. I bet you could. All right, we're going to work out some of the news, and we'll be back with Jay and ask him some legal questions coming from you on the membersnutrition.com super text line. That's next, 615-737-9986. That's the number. Get your questions in here for our legal man, Jay St. Clair. It's 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Talk 99.7 WTN, as I am apt to do when Jay St. Clair is on with us. I'm going to violate my own word. When I said we were going directly to your questions, I have come up. Well, you know what? I take that back, Jay. This actually, we're gonna say that this comes from our good friend and regular listener Richard, because Richard is the one that made me aware of this particular case that I'm about to bring up to you, that I want to talk to you about. You ready, Jay? Hey, Bell, put Jay back on. Is he there?
Yeah, he should be on.
Oh, is he not? Hello? I can't hear him. Uh-oh. We got muted somehow. Well, while we figure that out, Bell, just talk into my ear, talk on the radio, and let me know when we perhaps got him back. I'm going to give you the details of this case. According to the Ohio Supreme Court, customers who order boneless chicken wings should not expect boneless chicken wings to be free of bones. That, according to the Supreme Court of the state of Ohio. Customers cannot expect boneless chicken wings to be free of bones. In a 4-3 decision ruled on yesterday, the Ohio Supreme Court rejected claims by a restaurant patron who suffered serious medical complications when he got a bone stuck in his throat while eating boneless chicken wing. You there, Jay?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know how much of this you've heard, but loyal listener Richard has brought this court case to our attention that I'm describing to the listening audience, and I want your take on this.
Yeah, you mean Judge Richard.
Well, I was just going to say Richard, but you said it, so Judge Richard, yes. Michael Berkheimer was dining with his wife and friends at a wing joint in Hamilton, Ohio, and had ordered his usual boneless wings with Parmesan garlic sauce. Mm-hmm. He felt a bite-sized piece of meat go down the wrong way. A few days later, he was feverish, couldn't keep food down. Eventually went to the emergency room where a doctor discovered a long, thin bone had been inside of his throat and torn his esophagus, caused an infection. Berkheimer sued the restaurant, Wings on Brookwood, saying that the restaurant failed to warn him that so-called boneless wings might have bones.
Huh.
In a 4-3 decision, this is why people hate lawyers. I mean, I'm telling you, what I'm about to tell you is why people hate lawyers. Mm-hmm. In a 4-3 and the courts, in a 4-3 decision, the Supreme Court said Thursday that boneless wings refers to a cooking style, and that Berkheimer should have been on guard after ordering boneless wings that they might have had bones in them. The court in this is, and I'll give credit for Richard saying this because he's right. This is my favorite part. Yeah. A diner reading, this is according to Justice Joseph T. Dieters, who, writing for the majority, said, a diner reading boneless wings on a menu should no more believe that the restaurant is warranting the absence of bones in the items than believe that the items were made from chicken wings, just as a person eating chicken fingers would know that he had not been served fingers.
What? You mean chicken fingers really aren't chicken fingers?
Believe it or not, Jay. Well, but here's the deal. It's different. People know that chicken fingers are describing the style of the meat. Boneless, the design is that we serve chicken wings. They have bones in them. Well, people didn't like having to pick all that off, so restaurants began serving what they described as boneless wings. Jay, if you were on this court, would you have ruled in this fashion?
I'd have to look at the law. Where was it, in Ohio?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know that they're guilty of fraud by calling them boneless. The question is, did they not exercise due care in preparing the meal? I mean, for example, if you're eating a hamburger and it's got a bone in it, then I think you got some grounds to sue the restaurant.
Okay.
Because you don't expect bones in hamburger. I mean, they should have caught the fact that there was a bone in there before they served it. So but see, I don't know if they claim negligence, if they just claim fraud.
Well, what about, and pardon me, counselor, for interrupting, but what about the point where they say boneless?
Yeah, well, but what they're really saying is this is not really a chicken wing.
I mean, that's true. Right?
That's what they're saying. They're not saying it doesn't have any bones. They're saying this is not a chicken wing.
It's a chicken nugget, is what it is.
That's right, and right. But
I guarantee you, though, Jay, after this lawsuit, I bet you restaurants will begin. I mean, if I were a restaurant owner, I'd just start calling them something different.
Well, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the lawsuit that was filed a few years back. Somebody sued Subway and said their foot-long sandwiches were not a foot long. They're 11.8 inches long. Well, that's not a foot. So they're committing fraud.
Well, I like this portion of the article by Associated Press as well. The dissent, and it's solely because it's one of my favorite words in the English language. Here we go. The dissenting justices called the majority opinion utter jabberwocky.
Ooh.
And said a jury should have been
Whoa. Don't make me have to use the dump button.
Well, that's what, this is coming from a court of law, Bell. Judge said that, so I think it's allowable. Said a jury should have been allowed to decide whether the restaurant was negligent in serving Berkheimer a piece of chicken that was advertised as being boneless. The question must be asked, does anyone really believe that the parents in this country who feed their young children boneless wings or chicken tenders or chicken nuggets or chicken fingers expect bones to be in the chicken? Justice Michael Donnelly said, of course they don't. When they read the word boneless, they believe that it means without bones, as all sensible people do.
I have a little different take. I think the analogy to a chicken nugget. If I were a judge, I would decide this case exactly the same as if it were a chicken nugget, because people know that's what it really is, or if they don't, they should. Is it negligent to serve a chicken nugget with bones in it? See, I don't know the facts. I don't know how that happens. In other words, do they make them there, or do they just get them bought in by the bag?
Right.
Or is there reason to believe there might be bones in chicken nuggets? So that's where you got to know the facts of the case, and I just don't know the facts.
All right. Well, let's get to a few questions while we have a little time with Jay St. Clair, our legal man. Question for Jay. Is there any way to find out if a person did a trust when you don't know who the attorney was? Is there a way to notify the attorneys in the state of Tennessee to see if anybody did want? And I'm just asking the question as it's written here. So is there a way to find out if a person has a trust if you don't know who the attorney is, I guess, for the person?
Well,
you understand that, Jay?
I think, but I mean, I'd start with asking the person. And I'm guessing here the person is either deceased or is not able to communicate. So I mean, no, there's no registry anywhere. They're not public documents. So I mean, you got to ask the person, and then if that person's not able to speak, then ask other family members. But that's a toughie. I mean, that's like saying, is there any way to know whether somebody's got $1 million buried in their backyard?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only way to know is to ask the person.
Right.
And if not, then you can get a metal detector, I guess. But no, the answer to that is there is no registry anywhere. It's not a public document. It's not like real estate deeds, where they're recorded at the courthouse. trusts aren't done that way, so the answer is no, other than by asking the person. And if that person is not, you can't communicate with that person, then you got to ask family members and friends. Maybe bankers or other people that knew that person.
Mm-hmm. 1385 writes in and says, "Hey, Matt, I have a question for Jay. My wife's father died of 5 different cancers." That's very sad. He was at Camp Lejeune for a year and a half. Now, we've heard a lot about Camp Lejeune over the years.
Right.
They just filed their case. Mm-hmm. Does Jay have any idea about how long this process will take? My wife is torn up every time she thinks about it, rightly so, I guess. But she is the beneficiary. Any idea? I mean, yeah, it's going to take a long time. I would expect.
Years.
Yeah.
A lot longer than you expect it to last, sir, or that you want it to last. That's just the truth. The legal system works slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in this situation, and I don't pretend to know all of the particulars, Jay, I just know what I see on television. I think there's, a fairly broad admission that something went wrong here, right, in terms of the water table or things leaching into the water table.
What happened is Congress funded something, for a long time because it's federal property and sovereign immunity kicks in. And so Congress created a fund for people to apply. And then I think there are certain facts that have to be established to apply for that. And, now there's all these like the oil spill lawyers, from a few years ago. A bunch of lawyers are handling it. And that just takes time, man.
Well, it takes time, mainly, in my opinion, because lawyers work by the hour.
Yeah, well, we're people too, man. We got to eat just like everybody else.
That one was just for Jay, by the way. 1751 says, "Hey Matt, I believe Jay said last week that he would see if there was an update on the non-compete issue. This is something that came up earlier in the year. Just describe to people what came up earlier in the year, and then let us know if there's an update, Jay."
Yeah, so the Federal Trade Commission has proposed a rule, actually issued a final rule that would outlaw all non-competes in the United States, man. It's a really big deal for people who have non-competes. Mm-hmm. The effective date of that is September 4, 2014. And I know this listeners called in a couple times about this, and so I did my research. So it's not yet effective. It's September 4 is the effective date. A judge in Texas has enjoined it. And said that the FTC did not have the authority to do that. But that injunction is not nationwide, so it's not going to apply in Tennessee. A judge just recently in, I think, Pennsylvania refused to enjoin it. So there's no change right now, man. It is what it is right now. But when September 4 rolls around, unless some judge has not issued a nationwide injunction, that rule will be in effect. So for those people who have non-competes, that may be a good time to look to, if you're wanting to change jobs, that'd be a good time to do it and not have to worry about your non-compete. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But, it's the only time it ever becomes it's a problem is if you leave and go to work in competition with your employer.
I've got a little bit of an update on this previous question about the trust. The individual 4091 writing in says that this person is deceased and that she did not want her family getting her stuff. So, I mean...
Well, that's a toughie. I mean, right? So there might be buried treasure somewhere,
right,
man. But unless you got a treasure map...
Right.
Then you just got to look for clues. There's no book you can go to. There's no registry you could go to. You just got to. It's like the movie National Treasure, right? You've seen it. I watched that movie recently. It's a great movie.
Oh, Nick Cage, right?
Yeah.
Nick Cage. It reminds me a little bit of unclaimed money that the government has just sitting somewhere.
That's right.
And, they're not coming to look for you.
No, and it actually does something that's called It's cheats. Isn't that funny? It's cheats.
Uh-huh.
And so let's say somebody dies and has a bank account and the family doesn't know about it. Well, after a certain period of time, I think like 7 years or so, if nobody claims the money, the bank actually turns that over to the state.
Huh.
It is cheats to the state. And then, you know, actually that's one thing you could do, sir, is check if you're in Tennessee. This will give me some homework. Maybe if we got another break, I can do this. I would get in touch with the department within the state of Tennessee that handles escheat property, and I'll see if I can get that contact information if I'm right.